Welcome everyone. In today's video, we're gonna be doing live product research. Whenever we ask people what their biggest challenges are, product research is consistently one of the biggest challenges. Now, if you go onto our YouTube channel, we've got a lot of great videos on how to do product research. Today, we're not gonna be doing sharing any new secrets or hacks or really anything groundbreaking, but what we've actually found is really helpful for people is just to see over the shoulder of people that have some experience doing it and just seeing our process. So we have a little bit of an idea what we're gonna start looking at, but we don't know exactly what. We're just gonna be doing it live. We're gonna be talking through each idea and just the things that we would be considering in the hopes that it's going to be helpful for you. Now, this is our second episode, so if you haven't watched the first, you can go back and watch that one, and we're gonna be doing this on an ongoing basis. So before we dive into the product research, Jake, do you wanna give us a quick recap on what we covered in our last episode?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive into my screen here. And if you didn't see our last episode, I'll do a little recap for you here. Basically, what we did is we went through Jungle Scout's Opportunity Finder here, which is a tool that helps you find products or niches to sell on Amazon. And we selected one category. We actually selected the arts, crafts, and sewing category and looked through products in that category. At the end of the video, we did find 3 different niches that we actually said would be, arguably would be a good idea to sell. And we based that on a few different criteria. The first one was demand. So we're looking here at our product tracker groups where we have 3 groups in here. We have Yarn Baby for blankets. These are just little yarns here that you can sew into baby blankets. Pregnancy casting kit where you essentially just put it over your belly if you're a mother or expecting mother, and you can get a mold for yourself there. So that's a pretty unique product. And then bead spinners. There are these little wooden bead spinners here that you can use for some sort of like necklaces or some sort of arts and crafts. So coming back to our overview tab here, what we found are these 3 products had a lot of different variables that we'd want to consider. The first one, again, is demand. So we can look at average daily sales here and average revenue as sort of our North Star for figuring out whether these niches are in demand or not. Let's start with yarn for baby blankets here. The average daily sales was 48, and compare that to the other 2 niches were 11. We typically say look for a niche or a product that has at least 10 daily sales, which would mean that has 300 monthly sales. We typically say that's a good number to shoot for. So if we were to give the yarn for baby blankets a win, it would be in the demand category. Next, we have competition. Now, sometimes on Amazon, especially in 2022, this is gonna be hard to find a niche that has low competition. And so sometimes we need to increase our threshold to medium. Or in our case, we sold some washable pee pads last year, and it had very high competition, but we were confident that we could still compete, and we did pretty well. But let's look at competition now. The way to gauge that here on Amazon is this reviews section here. So we can look through the reviews for these 3 groups, and it looks like the bead spinners has the least competition, averaging out at about 200 reviews in that niche, which is awesome. The other 2 have well over 1,000 average reviews for their niche, and that's not a deal breaker, but when you're comparing this, obviously you would say the bead winners has lower competition, and that's definitely something to consider, but again, not a deal breaker for us. The last one here to consider, last variable, is profitability. Now, we did this in a few different ways. You can look at the average selling price, which is this first column here, and determine, you typically want to sell something over $20 on Amazon because fees are going to increase, your costs are going to increase, especially with Amazon fees. Those are getting pretty expensive now. So you want to sell something that over time you can still be profitable on, even if they increase their fees. So looking here, $16 for the Yarn Baby blanket. So even though that is the most in-demand category for us, it also has the least profitability just initially here. The pregnancy belly casting kit had the highest at about $46 was the average price, and $23 for the bead spinner. But again, that's not the only way to find out profitability. We actually went to Alibaba.com and got some rough estimates for these types of products. So we would type in, belly casting kit or one of the other niches here, and would get a rough estimate of our per unit cost. And then we used a tool that we'll show you later in this video to calculate a rough average of our ROI and net margin. So this is what we did last episode, we found these 3 products. This episode, we're gonna hopefully find 3 more products, and as the series continues along, we're gonna compare a bunch of products. And again, the whole idea of this series is to show you guys how we would initially find products, and there's a whole lot more that goes into this, but this is the starting point. So hopefully you learn from us over our shoulders.
Yeah.
So if you're ready, I think we should jump into the second episode and look through a different category.
Let's do it. While you bring that one up, just again to reiterate the 3 main things that we're gonna be looking at as well today. Like Jake mentioned, we're gonna be looking for high demand, low competition, and good profitability. So that's how we're gonna be evaluating these products. Also, in between looking at products, we're also gonna be answering questions. So any questions that you have, make sure to drop them in the chat below, and we'll answer them here live in a moment.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump into Opportunity Finder.
Okay. Awesome. So we're in the Opportunity Finder, and like I said, last episode, we looked through the arts, crafts, and sewing category. We're doing this at a category level at a time, just so we can really hone in on certain categories, and so we can make the series fun. So let's go ahead and drop down to the automotive category now, and this will be what we're looking at. Let's set up our filters here. Again, we want to find a product that has an average monthly units sold of about 300 units. So we'll enter that here. That's our demand. For profitability, this is where we can use the average monthly price and specifically the minimum filter here. You could use $20, $25, or even $30. Let's just maybe go with $20 at the start, and then we can always narrow it down more if we want to. Then the last one is competition. So in Opportunity Finder, we have a slider here that we can slide. I'm actually just gonna leave it at medium because again, it's becoming harder and harder to find niches with low competition on Amazon since everybody's starting to sell. So we'll leave this at medium to find some more products there. But seasonality, this is a big one. We want to bring that down to low. Primarily because we don't want to sell anything that only sells during Christmas or Easter or some other holiday. We want sales all throughout the year. So we're gonna drop the seasonality bar a little bit lower. And basically what we're gonna do now, guys, is I'm gonna click search here. It's gonna populate some niches below, and you can see right here, there's about 205 possible niches. So for the sake of this video, we're gonna give ourselves a 15-minute limit to find one product, go through the 3 main checks, again, demand, competition, and profitability at a very, very high level. And hopefully we'll find one product and then look it up on Amazon and add it to our product tracker group. Then after that, we'll do a little Q&A and then move on to the second product and then rinse and repeat. We'll do this about 3 times. So again, guys,
awesome.
Yeah, drop your questions in the chat, or if you're not watching live, drop them in the comments of this video and we'll get to them in the next question, or actually just in the comments, we'll reply to you there. So yeah, let's go ahead, let's throw 15 minutes on the clock now and we'll hopefully find a product. All right.
Alrighty, cool. So we've got a bunch of results here, which is great.
Yep. Maybe just start at the top here. So I don't know what Jack Johnson Station is. It's probably like a branded term. So we can look up car pump right underneath it. And oh no, I gotta log in again. Okay, let me do that again. So we can look at the, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to do it all over again. That's okay.
That's okay.
Oops. Let's enter that in real quick here again, 300.
So I can kind of like speak to where, we're just gonna start looking through some of the other sort of things that we're considering is like something that seems simple to make, isn't breakable, anything like that. We'll kind of like talk through those sorts of things here. It's not an exact science, but yeah, I'm familiar with what a car pump is, kind of. So let's take a look at this.
Take a look. So a car pump here, we can look through all these metrics here. We can see average units sold over the past 2 years. See if there's any really big spikes. There is one here in October, but outside of that, it's not really spiking.
So that's really helpful because initially, all of these results are matching our criteria. So, we set that we want at least 300 units sold per month. Now, what's really great about the historical data here is that if we just happen to be in a month like October here where it was spiking, if we're just looking at that one point in time, we might think, great, this has a lot of demand. But the good thing here is that we can actually verify that this demand is consistent. It's not just a holiday or a seasonal or something. So the historical data here is super, super helpful. Now we can kind of see more so what the average is over time. And we can kind of see that it does sell all throughout the year. A little bit of seasonality, but doesn't look too bad.
There's some interesting trends here too that you can find. So if we take October to December, that's when it sort of picks up over time.
Yeah,
and
it looks pretty consistent as well. It's not like a once-off trend, that it's sort of predictable, which is nice.
Doesn't really drop off either. When it does drop off, it's, like you said, pretty consistent. And then when we get back to that September, it kind of spikes again, and then we'll go back down after December. So you can sort of pick up on these trends over time and really increase, maybe if you do sell this product, you'd want to increase your ad spend around that period. So this is really good to look at. There's other tabs as well. There's average price here. You can do the same thing. Pretty consistent category, but you might want to like look at this in case the average price is going down or going up. Maybe there's more sellers selling it and it's diluting the market. But another good tab to look at. Cool.
So I'd say so far we've almost, more or less established there is a ton of demand, even in the low months here. That's what, still 2,500 units, and you can kind of see the average up here too, which is nice. Yes. So definitely, I think ticks the box of demand. Then in terms of price, like Jake said, we don't want it to fluctuate too much, but it looks like it changes by a few dollars. This is what 30. It's like $30 to $35. So it changes a little bit, but it's not too drastic. So I think it sort of checks out there. We kind of know the range now, $30 to $35. So I guess we'll just keep moving through.
Yeah, go to search volume. So this again would be another indication of demand. One of a very important way to do product research is to not just look at sales estimates, is to look at search volume. That's something that's going to really help you over time. What we can see right now is after May of last year, search volume has dropped a little bit. But again, if we come back to what looks like of August last year, it did have a dip before, but this is just another indication that you can find with to check demand. It does look like it fell a little bit in this time. Maybe that was due to some issues outside of Amazon, but then it is sort of heading back upwards now. So another indication of.
So it's just like one data point. It's like this definitely is nice, but ultimately, like I'd probably give a little bit more weight to like units sold as well. Definitely. You kind of like use both those data points together, and I think together it looks pretty positive. What you wouldn't want to see here is a trend that is just going down, basically, where this particular product is, people aren't interested in it anymore. I'm sure you would see, and I think I have seen, maybe like COVID-related products. You might kind of see that trend now where it was hugely popular in 2020, but now it's sort of dropped off.
Yeah.
The other trend as well, which can be like a little bit of a unicorn to find, but if you ever see it, it can be great. It's more the opposite, the rising trend, which might indicate a product that is just growing in popularity. And if you're lucky enough, you might be one of the people that sort of discovered it before it's, before everyone is selling it. So
exactly.
That's a bit about search volume.
We could also go to seasonality here, which would be the second to last tab, to really just check at very high level if there's any seasonality going on. But again, we baked this into our filters earlier, so we actually don't need to worry about it.
Yeah. But what's really nice as well, if you're using Jungle Scout here, you can obviously look at the graph, but you can also just very easily see on the right-hand side, it just tells you the overall seasonality. So it's saying it's very low. If it was a little bit seasonal, it would tell you the peak month, which is really nice. So Jungle Scout makes it like really intuitive to understand this data.
Absolutely. Cool. And now top products. So this is essentially what we're looking at. If you're not familiar with a car pump, they look like this. I'm sure it helps inflate your tires, it looks like in the title here. They look electronic for the most part. Some don't have any LCD screens on them, but this is sort of what we're looking at here. So what we could do now is if everything checked off, and again, we use filters, so we don't need to really confirm, or we don't need to check that it does have high demand, low competition, and high profitability. We just need to confirm this stuff. So what we could do is we could click this icon to run a search on Amazon, and we can actually just pull up the extension here and look at a lot of information on the page at once. So this is really helpful. You can see monthly sales in this column. You can see daily sales next to it and monthly revenue. And again, that would be for your demand. You can see the price over here to help you figure out profitability. The rating number there, that's the amount of reviews. So that would help you determine competition. So what do you notice right away, Lenny, that really stands out to you in terms of looking at demand, competition, or profitability? Anything that you see here that's like kind of alarming?
Alarming? I mean, first off, I don't know about alarming, but I was initially just kind of giddy with excitement to see the opportunity score.
Yes.
So this is just an opportunity score is just a quick way to measure an opportunity when you're using the extension. Essentially, it's a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being a great opportunity and 1 being a poor opportunity. And it's just doing some very basic calculations on the demand and competition, and I think maybe listing quality score. And 8 is actually like really good. I haven't seen too many 8s in the wild, so that's actually really cool. But one thing I also want to note, because people always ask like, oh, what number do you look for? It's always a starting point. It's like, I'm excited to see an 8 there, but what we're gonna do now is dive into the numbers ourselves, because you kind of do need to take that human manual process to really understand what's going on. The opportunity score is just an initial gauge, but
yeah. I'd say one thing that you can do right away that the opportunity score wouldn't have baked into it is looking at how top heavy this category seems to be. So I'm really looking at this rating number column here. There's about 3 products here in the top 5 that seem to be dominating in terms of reviews. So that might be a little bit hard to compete with. Now, the goal here would be to find some products that have lower ratings, lower rating numbers, and see if they're still doing well. So looking at their estimated sales and seeing if they're still selling any products in comparison to these heavy hitters over here. So
cool.
We can scroll over, we can see some more data here. So we can look at the daily sales for, that top one is about 505. They sell 500 units every single day. These next 2 down here sell over 100 or 200 here. Now, this is actually what we wanted to see here. Looking at the second product, only 9 reviews. They launched, oh my gosh, they launched like a month or 2 ago. So you can see this date first available column here and see when they actually launched on Amazon.
Yeah.
And they're selling 12 units a day so far. So their sales velocity is awesome. So they're off to a great start, which would be really exciting for us if we wanted to get into this category, knowing that. I guess coming down here, we can see some other products with lower rating numbers aren't doing that well, about 2 daily sales, 8 daily sales. Another, in the thousands competitor there. But once we come down here and we see these here, so we're now in the 8 spot, 9 spot, 10 spot, a little bit past the top 10. Some of these guys under 1,000 reviews are doing pretty well. There's a 28 daily sales guy there, some under 10, but it actually looks not too tough to compete with outside of those top 3 or 4 main competitors.
Yeah, so now that we scroll down here, I'm feeling a little bit more optimistic. I was a little bit worried at the top here.
Yeah.
So, typically you ideally find a niche that doesn't have a high rating or review number in an ideal world, but it is very difficult to find those, so you kind of have to pick, be smart about it. So it can be okay to compete in a niche where there are some like high, some listings with high numbers of ratings.
Yeah.
But like Jake said, we want to see kind of the distribution of sales. And so what worries me at the top here is that, okay, these 3 listings with the highest number of reviews and ratings, they also have sort of a disproportionate amount of the sales.
Yes.
And what would make me feel better is if these smaller listings are still getting a reasonable share. Or actually, if I do look at these, so these 2 here have 5 ratings. Okay, they're still getting a couple of 100. That's not too bad, but I do feel a lot better when we scroll down here and we're starting to see that, some of these other small listings are still getting 800, 2,000, etc.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like a lot is still kind of going to these big heavy hitters, but yeah, these small listings, some of them aren't quite meeting the 300 unit per month. But then there also are a few that are. So for me personally, it's kind of borderline. Like I feel like there's an opportunity to compete here.
Yeah.
I do feel like the competition's a little bit more than I would like.
Yeah.
But again, that's just kind of like what we're doing here is just weighing up the pros and cons, because typically no product ever ticks every single box, high demand and low competition and amazing profitability. It's usually like, you know, it's got a couple of pros and a couple of cons and you have to like weigh it up. So for me so far, yeah, profitability checks out, demand checks out, competition's a little bit higher than I would like, but there are a couple of examples here that of new listings that are able to capture some sales. So yeah, that's my kind of verdict.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely a lot of competition, but with the remaining 2.5 minutes that we have here, maybe we'll do a real quick check on the profitability to even see if it's gonna be worth it. So let's go ahead and do this. How we would go about and just estimating profitability outside of the price point is taking the main keywords here, which is probably portable air pump for car tires, and going to Alibaba here and typing it in, see if we can get an estimate from any of these suppliers that sell them. So you gotta look here for something that looks similar to what you're selling. So this one here, 12 volt. If I go back to our listing here, this is also a 12 volt.
Right,
So similar to what we wanna sell there. We can continue looking. Some of these look like a drill, and I'm sure they do the exact same thing, just in a different format. Some of them are a bit smaller, but let's maybe go back, and here's a good one here as well. Cheap 12 volt portable digital inflator. So let's go ahead and check this out real quick. We can see that if you buy about 1 to 200, your unit price would be $850. But if you buy more, let's say you buy 3,000, your unit price would be under $8, so $7.90. Let's assume we're gonna buy 3,000. That's not the case. And in fact, once you contact these suppliers, you're gonna probably find completely different pricing. But let's, for the sake of estimate, take this $7.90, go back to the extension, and what we can do, or sorry, go back to the extension here, and we can click this net column here. What that will do is bring up our profit calculator. From here, we can enter a few pieces of information. The biggest thing that we need to enter now is our product price. If we sell it at $31, let's change our product cost to $7.90, assuming that's what we're gonna buy this at per unit. Running the calculation, our ROI percentage would be about 183, but this product actually isn't showing any FBA fees here, so they're probably FBM. Let's use a better example actually and run it through here. So now we can see the FBA fees are down here at the bottom. So that's gonna be a more clear picture for us. So running a $7.90 product cost against, this one's basically $50, would give us a huge ROI percentage.
Right, so we could even like drop that price down.
$30, yeah. And we're still over 100, which our goal is to get 100% ROI just in the earlier stages or somewhere close to it. So
probably now the only other thing that I would do to kind of like make this a little bit more accurate is to kind of allow for a shipping cost. So $7.90 is what the product costs, and then I don't know, we could estimate like, what do you think, like a couple of dollars?
Maybe add just $5 to it even.
Yeah, so being really conservative.
Let's just go $12 here. And even that at a lower price, we're still making about 80% ROI. The timer's up, but still, I would think that an 80% ROI is pretty good. And again, this is at a low price point. If we lower it, or sorry, increase it to $40, now we're getting over 100% ROI. So even with shipping, I think a product like this, once you have to figure out a bunch more variables here, and this again, very early stages, could be profitable. So it semi-checks that profitability test early on.
Cool, all right, so that is our first product. We're gonna move on. So the timer's up for that one, but just the other note that I would make here is that, again, just emphasizing this is the initial stages. We, you know, we wouldn't make a decision to sell this product just off of that. Probably the next steps would be to get, say, an official quote from the supplier. So we've got a lot of great directional data that we know it should be around about that $7.90 mark. But yeah, if we wanted to move further, we're just kind of adding this now to our list of potential ideas to get that short list. And then yes, the next step would be to contact a supplier, which is not what we're gonna do today. We're just getting that initial list. So what do you do? We move on to the next product.
Yep, so we're gonna answer your questions now. So go ahead and drop them in the chat. In the meantime, I'm actually gonna add these products, the car pump, into our product tracker so that at the end of the video, we can compare it to all the other products that we looked at in this video and in the last video. So yeah, drop your questions in the chat here, or again, if you're not watching live, drop them in the comments and make sure to join us in the next episode.
All right, well, while you do that, I will bring up some questions.
All right.
Let's see. So Greg is asking, on a new product, any suggestion on getting a jump start on reviews? Alrighty, I would bring that up. I'll just answer that one. So, yeah, suggestions on getting reviews. Really, it's a lot of the things that we've talked about in the past. We do actually have a recent webinar on our YouTube channel that speaks to how to get reviews, but certainly I would just utilize a lot of Amazon's built-in features. So, you know, if you're an FBA seller, you're gonna have, and I think you need to be brand registered, you're gonna have access to the Vine program, where you can give away up to 30 units of your product. You do need to pay $200 for this service, but the reviews that you can get in return tend to be very high quality. And at that point of launching your business, you really want to do anything you can to get reviews. The other thing that I would highly recommend is using something like Jungle Scout's review automation. What this does is that it automates the process of contacting every single buyer of your product to essentially request a review. This is a process that Amazon is doing, and you can manually go into your Seller Central account and click a couple of buttons to send that request through. However, Jungle Scout is able to automate that for you so that these requests are being sent out through Seller Central automatically. You can even do things like you can choose which products that you want to get these requests for, or you can change when they get sent out. So I think the default's about 5 days, but if you've got a product like a vitamin or something that needs a little bit more time for people to try out, then you can change that to like 20 days or 30 days. So Jungle Scout's review automation is another huge way to get reviews. Those are probably like my top 2 tips. Yeah, I don't know if you've got any other thoughts on getting reviews.
Yeah, the other way would be some sort of guerrilla marketing here. So like with product inserts, you could get real creative with your own email list. So if you have a website, a Shopify website, let's say, and you get people to subscribe there for discounts and deals, you can start sending them emails outside of Amazon. So maybe some more guerrilla marketing tactics could be another way of getting more reviews.
Great. Okay, moving on to another question here. So Bo is asking hi from China here, searching for products for 1 month. I'm frustrated that everything seems to have a lot of competitors. Yeah, totally emphasize with the struggle. What I would say, just from, you know, a lot of people often say like, oh, there's like way too many competitors, it's too saturated. That's ultimately not true. There are definitely opportunities out there. We've, you know, even recently had our own experiences and talking with other people and finding new products, even today in 2020. So it is not too saturated out there. However, I do understand that it can certainly feel like there is too much competition. And ultimately, this is kind of the work, just sifting through a lot of product ideas. It can take a while. You just have to keep going. There are a lot of great opportunities out there. If it was easy and there wasn't lots of competitors, then everybody would be doing it. So unfortunately, it is just a matter of kind of grinding and continuing to, you know, keep looking and doing what we're doing today. So yeah, definitely emphasize with you, but yeah, unfortunately, this is the way.
Yeah. All right, got a question here. It's a good one here. So similar to what we actually talked about, the question is, which method is more effective? Search keywords or product through Product Tracker? So basically, do you look at search terms or do you look at product sales estimates? Both is the answer to that. So you could obviously start with product sales estimates, and that's great. That's what we did here. But then I'd move on to search terms. And if you saw what we did in this example here with the car pump, is we looked at the search term volume and trends over time, over the past 2 years actually, for just the word car pump. Now we just looked at that one keyword because that's what we had to work with in our opportunity finder tool. So what I would do then is take that car pump keyword and see what other keywords are similar to that users, that shoppers are typing into Amazon and buying. And then if there's a ton of other keywords that have, let's say, over 5,000, 10,000 even monthly search volume and exact match, then that might be a very strong niche as well. And that's another variable you can bring into play outside of the sales estimates. But I would say you start at the sales estimates.
Yeah.
Get yourself an idea of, is this in demand? And then move over to search to really start narrowing down your product ideas and maybe even land on the product that has a good mix of both, of product sales estimates and high search volume.
Yeah, that actually reminds me, on our next product that we do,
Yeah.
we could talk a little bit about how to find like good keywords. Like
Yeah.
the first one that we start with, but then we could also show folks how to find some alternative
Yes.
keywords that might even be a better keyword than what they were initially looking at. So we can do that on our next product. Yeah.
Awesome. Good idea. Great question.
Alrighty, I'll answer another question real quick. This might throw the timer up on the screen, or it might. Anyway, the question is it better to start out as wholesale rather than private label? I don't have a preference either way. Well, actually, if I do, but it's just a personal bias. I've got more experience with private label. Wholesale can be good to get started because it costs less to get started. Private label will generally have more profit margin because you're not a middleman, you own the product and the brand, but it costs more upfront. So there's sort of pros and cons to both. I recommend searching our YouTube channel for wholesale. We've got a great ultimate guide video on how to do wholesale, so check that one out.
Definitely.
All right, any other questions before we move on?
Yeah, this is a question. Great question. We actually answered this in our last video. So we did a full recap of our first year on Amazon, and this was a major challenge for us. So the question here is, do you recommend using I'm assuming this question actually is saying, do you recommend using the manufacturer barcode or Amazon's barcode? Essentially, should your manufacturer put the barcode on your products for you, or should you pay Amazon a per unit cost to have them put it on there? So that's what we did. We actually paid Amazon about 30 cents per unit to slap our label on it with our UPC barcode because we didn't ask our supplier to do it. Now, typically, your supplier will actually do that for free. So we were paying an additional 30 cents more per unit, which really affected our margins there. So I would 100% recommend asking your supplier to use or to add the label to your product for free rather than having Amazon do it for a per unit cost. It actually rises over time. I've actually seen it go up to 40 cents before. Maybe it's at 40 cents now, but we did pay 30 cents, so it could potentially rise. So if you can, do it for free and ask your manufacturer to add it on there for you.
Yeah, real quick, the other interpretation of this question is in case you're asking, should you put on the UPC barcode or the Amazon barcode?
Oh, okay.
If that's what you might be asking here, then generally I would say just put on the Amazon FN SKU barcode. So that's linked to your product on Amazon or your particular variation. That's what tells Amazon, if you're sending it in via FBA, that's what tells Amazon that it's your product. So that's the one that I would put on there.
Yeah, you really only need the UPC barcode to get the FN SKU barcode out of Amazon. Then the UPC code really doesn't matter unless you're selling on your own website or another marketplace.
Yeah.
Great question. All right, well, keep the questions coming, guys. We're gonna again go back to some product research and then continue to ask more questions. And then at the end, we'll also follow up with a larger Q&A as well. So we'll get to your guys' questions and keep them coming.
Let's do it. Yeah. So moving over to...
Yeah, let's go back to our Jungle Scout tool here, Opportunity Finder. And again, so we just found the car pump idea here. And I actually went ahead and during the first couple questions, I added it to our product tracker. So we'll come back and check that out at the end of the video when we compare all these ideas. So let's go ahead and throw another 15 minutes up on the clock. We're going to try to find a second product. And let's go ahead and get started.
Okay.
All right, Lenny, what do you think? Where does your heart guide you?
Oh, I mean, I'm no automotive expert here, but let's see, a cup holder for car. I mean, it sounds like a simple product that shouldn't be, would be maybe pretty sturdy, shouldn't break. On the flip side, I'm worried about like how universal is something like this? Do you need lots of sizes? Those are just like the initial questions that are going through my head.
And one thing we could do too, just to save us time, I know we got that last product in at the buzzer. We could go to the extension, or we can save some time and really just look through the top products here, which has most of the same information that the extension does. Has our revenue, monthly sales, our price, and number of reviews. So and date first available. So we could even just look at this high level if we wanted to and see average price what's the average price here? So if I go up here, $21, basically $22 their average monthly price.
Okay, so it's over the $20 mark, which is good.
Yeah, and if we maybe sort by, let's like sort by monthly sales now to see sort of who's at the top and how many reviews they have. So the first 3 products here that have the most sales, they're getting over 4,000 in monthly sales, have over 6,000 reviews. But now let's scroll down to see what everybody else is doing. Okay, so 426 reviews, selling a ton in the monthly sales.
What I'm liking is that even as we're scrolling down, that these smaller, relatively smaller listings still get a ton of sales.
This guy right here, 71 reviews.
Yeah, only 71 reviews compared to all these other listings with thousands of reviews, and they're still getting 1,000 sales per month. So I think the distribution of sales or demand here is better than the last product.
Yeah.
This makes me feel more confident that a new person could come in and sell this product and still get hundreds, if not over 1,000 sales per month.
And they actually started not too long ago.
This column's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then believe it or not, they got 1,000. They're estimating at 1,000 sales, 71 reviews with a 3.5 star rating. So they must be doing something good here. And actually, funny enough, I'm in the market for one of these. I have a big Yeti.
Okay.
This thing doesn't fit in my car, and I'm actually trying to buy one of these. So this is helpful for me right now.
Oh, nice.
So let's actually continue looking at some of these guys who don't have too many reviews. 200 there. Wow, this is an interesting.
Wow,
it looks really competitive, but
yeah,
there's a lot of products. But from the people that are in right now, it doesn't seem like it's too hard to get sales with a low amount of reviews.
Right. This really impresses me here. These 2 listings, there's one with 7 ratings and another with 5, and yet they're still getting 400 to 500 sales per month.
And they just launched too.
And they just launched.
Woo. Next guy down.
It's also kind of nice to see that products that have just launched have made it to the first page of results for this keyword.
Yeah.
So they're ranking pretty well. They're getting 400 to 500 sales per month. So that gives me hope that maybe we could do that as well.
Oh my gosh. I don't think we have an issue with demand, but like you said earlier, let's find some other keywords for this and see just how big of a category it is.
Yes.
We can start at the search volume trend here, and oh my, so it's really spiking. So that's interesting. Is it always spiking? So it spiked again in August in the fall.
Interesting.
Which, it's a little bit before the fall now. It's spiking.
I mean, either way, that's the kind of trend that we want to see, if anything.
I imagine this is like, it kind of runs parallel, this category, to an industry like this where people are buying really big water bottles or coffee mugs. And, when more people buy those, they need to have it fit in their car because most cars don't have those huge cup holder spaces there. So.
Gotcha. So all of the data that we're looking at here is specifically for the keyword big cup holder for car. And it looks like it's got a huge amount of search volume, but typically what you want to do during product research is you want to try to figure out what is the main or one of the main keywords that people are using to find this product. Because sometimes you might have a really long tail obscure keyword and it might seem like, wow, it's a low competition, and it might seem to match the criteria, but actually people aren't searching for that as much as they are for, something else. So one way to figure out what the best keywords are is to go over to Keyword Scout. And so if we put in big cup holder for car, it's now gonna bring back all of the related and most relevant keywords. So we can see, exactly here. So we can see that big cup holder for car actually only gets 800 searches per month, or 800 exact searches. But what we can actually see that that cup holder expander for car is
that's the main keyword.
That's the main keyword. And so, that might be a better one for us to look at, for example.
Good call. So about 46,000 compared to 800 exact matches. That's huge. So it's just a better word right now. Cup holder is one. That would be more of like a really high level keyword that people might still be looking for this product, but they're lazy and they just want to just type in cup holder real quick and see everything. So another good one here.
But I guess you also need to think about the intent. So we might be in this example looking at making a cup holder specifically for a car, whereas cup holder might, you know, that might be a broader thing where someone might be looking for a cup holder for, I don't know, just in their house or for some other purpose. But if we're looking for a car one, then going with the car keyword might be better.
Yeah, this is great. So we have a bunch of data here as well. We could see, so there's actually no estimate for the exact match and broad match PPC bids that you need to bid at in order to win on top of page one. And so typically, because there's no estimate there, that means it's so low that there's just no estimate there. So not to say that there's no one bidding for this term, but that is to say if you do bid on this term, you can probably rank with a low cost per click on page one. So like Lenny said, we're using this to find other keywords to really verify the demand, but also like if you're selling this product, or one of the ways that you can, you know, land on this idea is like, okay, it'd be really cheap for me to advertise some of these keywords that are doing very, very well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, side note, this also excites me when you can see that there's a lot of keywords here that are relevant that have just huge search volume. So I can just tell that if we were to sell this product, you know, there's a lot of great keywords that we could get discovered on if we put them in our listing. And there's a lot of great keywords here that we could be using for PPC and advertising campaigns. So I love seeing that there are lots of different ways for customers to find the product.
Yeah.
There's not just one or two search terms that they need to put in. So yeah, I definitely like seeing all these.
We are just getting lucky. I mean, that we just went from car pump to big cup holder for car. Now again, like this is very high level. Typically you want to really look through this list and you spend more than 15 minutes per product idea.
Yeah.
And you do this for months even and start adding it to your product tracker and track that for a few months. I know actually someone in the comments asked a question, how long do you need to track products in order to really make a decision? You can track them for a couple months if you'd like. However, if you found a product and it meets all your criteria and you're passionate behind it, so you'd have fun selling it, you know, the metrics work, it's profitable for you, then you could maybe get away with a month or two. But
yeah, I mean, the great thing with Jungle Scout is that probably most of the products that you enter in there are going to have historical data already in the tracker.
Right.
If there is no data, and if there's no data for a particular product, you might have to wait for at least a few weeks or at least a month to kind of get some
just like
data.
This here. We like just added this in, so it takes a little bit of time to scout for data. So there are some stuff here that's been tracked before, so it's in there, but some of this other stuff, you see zeros. Give it a few hours, give it a day or two, and it will be populated.
Yeah.
But like you said, that's historical data, and there's some metrics up at the top here that we can use as like a summary of all that data.
Cool. So, all right, we got 6 minutes left on the clock. What do you think? Should we take a look at one of those other keywords, perhaps?
Yeah.
Like, should we look at maybe cup holder expander for car?
Yep. So we can click this right here to search it on Amazon.
Yeah, and like, what do you think? Bring up the extension, and then we'll
do that.
Start looking at profitability, perhaps.
Yep. So same thing here. If we wanted to, we actually could have used the opportunity finder here. Go to the top products and add them to our product tracker from here, and just create a group. But because we're doing that in the extension, let's just go ahead and run a search to verify profitability. So once it gets loaded here, I probably got to refresh because it's going to refresh again. So okay, so we're looking at this again. Pretty much the same stuff we saw in the Opportunity Explorer, so we don't need to redo any of that. Let's now just focus on the net profit, and maybe, what do you think, to type this into Alibaba and get an estimate?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we're going to take that main keyword here, go over to Alibaba.
And sometimes you'll find that, you know, we've identified one of the main keywords on Amazon, but sometimes it'll be a little bit different on Alibaba. So
good point.
If you can tell pretty soon, like if you start seeing results that aren't really related.
Some of these have trays on them, but this one seems pretty similar.
But you can also just kind of like see what are the main keywords that these listings are using. And it looks like they're using car cup holder, expander.
Yeah.
So it looks like the search term is bringing back the right products, but you know, sometimes you might need to adjust what you're searching for on Alibaba as it might be kind of worded a bit different.
I'm seeing a bunch of variations here. So like $4 there, $2 on the low end, 30 cents on the low end here. And this guy here, for some reason, very expensive. It looks high quality, but I don't think you would buy that at that price. That seems way too high for a piece of plastic. So potentially it's just entered in wrong here. And then when you reach out to the supplier, they'll have a different price. But
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get what we think would be a fair price.
That's what we're gonna do today, but essentially, like, we're just gonna find something as quickly as we can,
Yes.
but it definitely can be a little more tricky if you see something like this where the prices range from like 30 cents to $18.
Yeah.
Ideally, what you want to try to find is seeing a bunch of different listings.
Yeah.
The products all look pretty similar, and the range of prices is all pretty similar. It kind of gives you a bit of confidence that this is the sort of average price.
Yeah. And then one little like trick you can do too is sort of like download this list on Alibaba.
Yeah.
Take the minimum, maximum prices, add it into an Excel sheet, and find the average there. That way you can go to these suppliers and say, hey, this is the average for what I found. I want to pay less than that, or right at that price. So I guess if we're just looking at these three here, which seem pretty similar, with maybe the exception of this second one, it looks like it has like a two. Oh my gosh, you could have ramen in the car. So I guess if we take these two, the top one and the bottom one, $4.40, and that one ranges from 30 cents to $5.40 or $5.90, and take the average. What do you want to guess? Like maybe we just do, maybe we just take $4.40 and have that be our price and stick with that. It might even come in a 2-pack there, or it looks like a 1-pack. So. Maybe we'll take $4.40. Okay, just run with $4.40, or we could even, some of these down here have even lower. So I don't know. What do you think? $4.40 or drop it a little bit lower for the sake of?
Let's go. Yeah, maybe we'll do $4.40. Do you want to open that listing up just in case they've got like a range on there?
Yeah, good call.
So it was really nice when we were looking at the air pumps. I trust the quote more when they've got those ranges, like 1 to 100 units, and then 100 to whatever 500, etc. When they've got those ranges, the pricing, I guess you could just like trust it a little bit more. Sometimes you will find that the price that suppliers put here, they sometimes will like undercut the price just to kind of like get you to contact them. And then they're like, actually the price is this. And I'm a little more unsure in this instance because we're seeing such huge variations of the pricing. Which is why ultimately the best thing to do is to get a quote from suppliers. But for the sake of what we're doing today, we're just going to use this number as a starting point. Because again, we're just trying to roughly gauge whether this could be an opportunity. So yeah, let's take $4.40.
Take $4.40. We'll go back to the extension here, find a product again. So I believe so. Average price here is around $20 from these products.
Okay.
And if I remember correctly, going back to the opportunity finder, it was $21 right here. So we can assume that's our price that we're going to use to compare. So let's go ahead and go to the net column here. Assuming everything's the same, so the fulfillment fees are the same because it has similar weight to it, we'll go ahead and add $4.40 as our cost. But again, like you said in the last example, we need to factor in shipping as well. So we could play it safe and maybe add another like $5 or really play it safe, get a worst case scenario. Or
I think $5 would be super conservative. Like I don't think it would be anywhere
near $5.
Near $5. So I think that
per unit. So this is we're really just trying to get a worst case scenario. And this is again is at a little bit of higher price point at $26. So if we were to sell at $26 as $27, we could be pretty profitable. But now let's drop it down to the average price of $21.99 at a very, very conservative product cost. We're just under 70%. Not the best, but not the worst either.
Yeah.
Maybe we even drop it down because maybe that was too harsh of a.
I think so because I'm imagining this is it's going to be fairly lightweight, fairly small, lightweight. It would, our rule of thumb is you find a product that's small, lightweight, would fit within a shoebox is kind of the rough rule of thumb, which I imagine this it'd be relatively lightweight. So I don't think it would be super expensive to ship.
Right, good point. So at $7.75 here, which is an additional $3.40, we're looking at about 101% ROI, net profit of $7.83 here. So not bad for 15 minutes of trying to find a product, looking through the demand, the competition, and what we just did is the profit.
Awesome. I think we came in just in time, or maybe just like a few seconds over. Awesome.
Yep. So go ahead, guys, drop your questions for another round of Q&A. And in the meantime, I'm going to add this to our product tracker. And after this round of Q&As, we'll go to our third and final product.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. All right, so we've got a PPC question here from Amita, who asks, nowadays, ACOS is going very, very high in private label. What is the best way to reduce ACOS? So that's a huge question. I'd actually recommend you check out our PPC videos on our channel. So just type in Amazon advertising or PPC and you'll get a ton of videos on how to optimize your campaigns. And that's really what you need to do here is you need to go into the campaigns that have a really high ACOS, and then you need to see what keywords am I targeting, and essentially from there, just start looking at the data, because as you're looking at all the keywords, you're going to see that certain ones are gonna have a really high ACOS, others are gonna have a much lower, more profitable ACOS, and high level, it's just a matter of kind of looking at the keywords that aren't performing as well and either turning them off or lowering the bid amount that you're willing to bid on those particular keywords. Yeah, that's probably about as you know, that's kind of oversimplifying it, but that's essentially the process without kind of doing an in-depth tutorial. But you know, look where you're spending the most money and yeah, reduce or turn off those particular keywords. Yeah, I don't know. You're the PPC genius, but keeping it very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, you just need to get enough data to figure out what you need. What you need to tweak. So I wouldn't be afraid of a high ACOS at first. You really need to consider a lot of other metrics as well. So ACOS is one variable to look at. I would really encourage you to look at your TACOs, your total advertising cost of sales, essentially, rather than looking at your ad spend and ad sales. Look at your ad spend versus your total sales. The question you're trying to answer there is advertising helping you increase your total sales? So helping increase your organic sales as well. I would bring that in as well. We have a few videos talking about TACOs here, or just a quick Google search will give you the equation there. But I would consider some other metrics and consider advertising an investment to increase your total sales.
Yeah, that's a good point. If it's increasing your total sales, then it can be okay or acceptable to have a high ACOS. So for example, the washable pee pads that we began selling a little bit over a year ago, we had a really high ACOS for the first few months because we were in sort of a launch mode where we were okay with spending a lot on advertising because we were seeing that that was helping us increase our organic sales. Today, we've shifted goals and now we're a little more focused on bringing that sort of overall ACOS down. So yeah, hopefully those couple of tips help out, but definitely check out our more in-depth content to get some more specific strategies and examples. All right, let's see. What other questions do we have here?
Yeah, guys, keep the questions coming.
Relaxation says, Amazon Seller Central does let you ask for reviews. So that's just coming back to what we were talking about before with Jungle Scout's review automation. This is automating a process on Seller Central to increase your review rate.
Yeah.
And just kind of a side note there for anyone that isn't familiar with Jungle Scout. Jungle Scout includes all of the tools that we're showing you today, the product research tools like Opportunity Finder. You've got the Keyword Scout, which we showed you to do keyword research. We have the review automation function, which we know some people that have bought Jungle Scout just to use that because it's always on in the background and it just overall increases your review rating. So yeah, if you're, starting a new business or managing one, then, you might want to check out Jungle Scout and kind of consider it as a, a really great all-in-one option for managing your business.
Yeah.
Let's see.
There's a good question here, actually.
Okay,
so
great.
We didn't get to it earlier, but Cheryl asked, on a previous tutorial, it suggested that we should avoid electronic items. Would you say that's a valid point? I would say it's a valid point, and you're probably asking that because the first product we looked at today, that car pump, there were some of those, technically that is an electric item. You plug it in.
Right.
It has some components there that are electric. So typically would say yes. However, if that's something that you're willing, if you find an awesome niche and you're confident in the product, and you're okay with the liabilities of the technology not working or something happening there with the tech, then if you're confident enough, then you can still sell that product. It's not a deal breaker.
Yep.
But we typically tell people or recommend avoiding certain categories like electronics to beginner sellers for a reason, because those are a lot harder to compete in and there's a lot more that can go wrong. But if you're an experienced seller, there's no problem with going into some of these categories that we would tell a beginner to try to avoid if they can.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't sell anything electronic, just because I'm scared of the liabilities there and stuff that can go wrong. But we'll find out. Maybe we'll see the car pump after contacting some suppliers and really look at it a little bit with a finer, really looking at it more finer. Maybe it's a good idea to sell, and maybe I'll get over that fear of electronic items. But you definitely can sell it. It's not a deal breaker.
Yeah, exactly. It's ultimately like all pros and cons. So yeah, generally would be better to not sell electronics, but we might decide, if you're looking at a whole list of products, we might decide that the car pump, the pros of maybe the demand or competition or profitability, etc., they might outweigh the fact of it being electronic. So yeah, like Jake said, it's not like a blanket rule you can never sell electronics. These are all just kind of guides to kind of help you out, and you have to sort of evaluate the best mix of all of these factors that we're speaking about.
Yep. Great question.
All right.
All right. So what other questions we got here? So Renee asks, how much should my first order be, and at what numbers should I order again from the supplier? This is totally up to what you can handle and how comfortable you are in the beginning. So even we decided to test the waters with our latest product launch, the washable pee pads, again, just to test the water. So we ordered under 500 units there. Another reason why we only ordered 500 units is because that's how much we could store in Amazon's fulfillment centers. We had a limit at the time of 500, and most new sellers do. So you could start small and test the waters, or if you're really confident or an experienced seller, you could buy more. Ask Amazon to increase your limits, or send it somewhere else, like a third-party fulfillment center, to store it in the meantime. There's no hard and fast number here. It's whatever you're comfortable with and have the financial means to afford.
Yeah. To give you kind of a rough rule of thumb, to give you the best chance of kind of staying in stock and getting another shipment in before running out of stock, then you could use the rule of thumb of 3 months worth of inventory. So you would go to something like the extension or an opportunity finder and see, what do these products sell on average per month? So if this particular market sells about 300 units per month, then ideally if you could order 900 units, then that would hopefully give you the best chance of, you're starting to sell some inventory in your first month, and then maybe partway into your second month, you're able to then place an order for your second order and get that in before you run out of your 3 months worth of inventory. Now, do you have to have 3 months? No, you could start out with only 1 month or so, which is actually what happened to us with our washable pee pads, because they sold way better than we anticipated them to. The only trouble with that is it might be a little bit of a slower launch overall, because you are likely going to run out of stock and be out of stock for a period of time before you get the next shipment in. It's not the end of the world, but it's just something to consider, that if you start with less, you're likely going to take a little bit longer to grow than if you can order more upfront. So yeah, those are a couple of pointers there.
Awesome, great question. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, so a question here from Keenan asks, any tips about shipping? I always tend to take whatever the shipper is offering, which isn't cheap at all, as I can't beat their price. So there's 2 ideas here. One is if you're just starting product research, this is something you'd want to do when you're reaching out to suppliers asking for the per unit price. You want to get a collection of responses for your pricing, including your shipping. So 2 separate costs there that can bind into one. So if you're just doing product research originally, you want to get a lot of shipping quotes as well, and really go and negotiate with these suppliers. Say, hey, you're offering me $10 or whatever the cost may be, and I'm getting quotes for $8, $5, $6, whatever the case may be. So that's if you're starting product research. If you're already selling a product and you work with a manufacturer already, then you could try to negotiate a cheaper shipping cost if you order more units. So you could say, hey, I'm going to come and order way more units next year or this year. So I want to try to work with you on our pricing to get that down. So negotiating is going to be your best friend there. But then also just ask for other alternatives. So if you're doing FOB, ask what their cost for EXW is. Ask their cost for everything, and really start to go at it that way. Or I know what we've done is we worked with a freight forwarder. So you can work with the freight forwarder. They'll help you do a lot of work there. And you can even compare freight forwarding companies. We personally chose Flexport. They're a really big company, but I'm sure there's other freight forwarders as well that offer better prices. So I would just really compare your options and negotiate. That would be really my two biggest points, unless you have any other tips about shipping.
I think you covered it. Check out Freightos.com
Freightos, yeah, that's a good
to basically get a whole bunch of different quotes.
Yeah.
So that's probably like the main place you can go to get a variety of quotes. All right, I have a question here. If the product is the best rating in Aliexpress and no rating in Amazon, should we put it on Amazon? This is a good question. So I guess it depends on whether you're saying the product doesn't exist on Amazon or if it just has kind of a low rating on Amazon. Again, sort of a general rule of thumb that we have sort of always talked about is like use data to inform what you're selling. Like if you're just trying to run a business and make some money on the side, we don't typically recommend inventing a new product or selling something that's never been sold before because you've got no data to back up the fact that people actually want it.
Yeah.
So it comes back to our first thing, high demand. You want to sell a product that people actually want. It's not to say that if your passion is being an inventor and you're trying to, bring a new product to the world that solves a problem and that's really your passion, then absolutely go for it. I'm speaking to more the people that just want to start a business on the side. They don't really care necessarily what they're selling. They're just wanting to be able to, have this business on the side. I would say make it easy for yourself and sell things that are already proven to sell on Amazon. So if this product, it might exist on AliExpress, but it's not on Amazon, I'd be a little bit more wary of selling it on Amazon if, there's no history to show that people want this item. If you can't find any listings, then, another thing you could try is going to Keyword Scout like we showed earlier. Type in the name of that product or whatever the keyword is and see, is there any search volume? Are people searching for it, but then, there's no listings there? That's another way to kind of see like, okay, are people, do they want this? And trying to find it. One other thing that's kind of like tricked me in the past is where I've found an opportunity and there's like maybe 2 listings on Amazon. I'm like, yes, there's like no one else selling this product. And, it's got high demand, low competition, and there's like 2 listings. So it's like, great, I'm gonna be, one of the first here and dominate the market. Sometimes those can be a little bit of a trap where you might discover there's a reason why a product, there might only be 1 or 2 listings. It could be like a patented product that no one else is allowed to sell. Or it could be restricted, like if you go to try to sell it, it might be sort of like restricted and not many people can sell it. So sometimes be careful with those. You might have found just this unicorn product or it might be a trap. So keep that in mind. And then if it is on Amazon and it's got a low rating, then I would say it's actually could be a good opportunity. If one of the things that we talk about often is look at products that have improvement potential. So if we find one of these products that has really high demand, low-ish competition, good profitability, and it has like a really low average star rating, like maybe it's only 3 stars or less, then those are really great because it means you have the opportunity to fix whatever problems people have had in the past with this product and bring, hopefully a 5-star product to the market. So yeah, if it is on Amazon and it's got a low rating, then it could be a really great opportunity if you can fix the problem that other people have had. And typically the way you would do that is to open up the listing, look at the 1 stars, 2 stars reviews, and you'll start to hopefully see trends in terms of like, this kept breaking, the material kept tearing, or it's to this or to that. And then, you go to your supplier to fix that problem. So hopefully those pointers help you out.
Got a question here by Brett. So Brett asks, in Keyword Scout, the value of PPC exact means what? I used it and barely get any impressions. To be at the top, I have to go much higher. So let me show you my screen here real quick. So to answer this question, I am in Keyword Scout now. And in Keyword Scout, what you can do is you can hover over the PPC bid amount, and it'll tell you exactly what this is. It means the estimated median cost of an exact match PPC ad. So it's the median cost.
So let's oh, sorry, just cut you off. Let's let's jump into our screen share here so that we can kind of hone in and show what you're talking about.
Yeah, so right here is exactly what you can do. So let's say, for example, a car holder is 83 cents in exact match and 87 cents in broad match, right? We're looking at these two columns here. So just hovering over will give you some descriptions of all these columns. And what you'll see here is that this is the medium cost, right? So that means there are going to be PPC bids from competitors below and above this. And like you mentioned, you do need to go a little bit higher to get on page one. So this information refreshes all the time. So this could change really if I refresh the screen or wait a couple hours and refresh the screen then. So you are right, you will need to bid higher than this amount. This is just the medium amount. But great question. Hopefully that answers your question there.
All right, maybe we jump into the next product and then again we'll take some more questions after that.
All right, so let's go ahead. Product number 3, we'll throw 15 minutes on the clock. Hopefully we'll continue to get lucky and find another product. So cool, all right. We are in the opportunity finder here. Again, just scrolling through, what we can do is kind of eliminate some things that, electric vehicle, I don't know if we'd sell one of those. Some things that look like they're branded, like Jegs rooftop cargo container. Jeg sounds like a brand name.
Yeah.
Car privacy curtains could be interesting.
Interesting, yeah. Sounds like simple to make, hopefully.
Some sort of fabric. It's not electronic. So average units sold, consistent, like we've seen.
Fairly consistent, yeah.
Yeah, little spikes here, but that's okay. So I imagine this is for so many other occasions. Like some people probably use it for the sun, but most probably use it for their children in the back seat or some scenario where they just don't want to be seen. Or the people in the back probably.
Yeah.
Average price is actually pretty consistent, maybe going up a little bit, which is good to see.
Yep.
The search volume on, again, just that keyword really spiked.
So when's that? Okay, earlier this year.
Earlier this year in February. But what I would do is what we did in the last one is go, before we go any further, is go car privacy curtains and plug it into our keyword scout because most likely that's not the main keyword. I can't imagine. Or maybe it is, but...
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're wanting to figure out. So
right away you can see, just under 1,000 search volume, but car window shades is probably a bigger... a bigger keyword there. And you can see it kind of has some peaks and valleys, but overall, pretty strong keyword. Even on the lowest end, it's about 3,000-4,000 exact match searches. So that's probably our main keyword. Sunshade car would probably be another one, especially in broad match over here. Car sunshade. There's a bunch of different variations here, and this looks like a pretty strong category for this product, wouldn't you say? Like sun visor for car.
Yeah, it looks like there's... Yeah, this looks really strong. The only question, or the only thing that I would note is sort of like some of these might be more specifically thinking about like the windshield.
Right.
Others might be more saying like, hey, I'm trying to find something for the side windows.
Good point. Whatever. So like example here, car window shades.
Yeah, so we can kind of like, it's often a good idea to do just this and just like look it up on Amazon and see what are the pictures, what is the actual product that people are intending to find.
Here's a good example. So this first one here is the windshield, and these next two here are for the back seat, which is probably what we originally found this product for.
Yeah.
And this fourth one here is the windshield again. So this could go either way, car window shades, but I'd be curious to do one that's a little more similar to what we think we want, like even car privacy curtains.
Yeah, well, we could see what is the car privacy.
Oh yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. So it's like,
oh wow,
people who have these big vans that are campers,
interesting,
or they live in their van, they probably don't want to be seen when they're sleeping, so they add those. Or in another scenario right here, you're blocking people from seeing you or your children in the back seat or even in the front seat, which seems pretty dangerous if you're driving. But we come down here, we see some of these like shades, sort of just like house shades, but for your car.
Yeah.
This is interesting. This is actually a little bit different than what I was thinking. These are like curtains rather than like a shade.
It feels like they could be maybe more of a niche product.
Yeah. Privacy shades. And really you would, add both keywords into your title and bullet points. You'd add the word curtains and shades to really capitalize on both of those.
Yeah.
But in this scenario, for like that product, that's more of a curtain than a shade.
Interesting.
Very interesting. So maybe we even look at this a little bit more.
Yeah.
Again, actually, maybe looking at the keywords again here. there's so many different variations, but the search volume, there's so many keywords here above 10,000 even.
Yeah.
Even above 5,000, in my opinion, an exact match is a very strong keyword. That really can change. That's really subjective, but in this example, there's a ton of keywords over 5 and 10,000, an exact match. So this gives me a good indication that this is a strong niche in terms of demand, but I think we'd want to check out some other things like competition as well.
Yeah, let's do that.
So let's do that here and look at we'll sort this by monthly sales. And right away, so a lot of demand here. We really don't need to probably confirm that much until we get to the stage where we're really drilling down. Do we want it to be a shade or do we want it to be a curtain? And then we're sort of separating those two into different groups.
Yeah.
And comparing those two. Maybe we'll find one is better than the other. So
yeah, exactly. I was just actually going to mention that the same thing is that we're doing some high level stuff today, but this would be kind of a point, like Jake said, where you would want to kind of like drill in a little bit more into like, is this kind of like the typical shade that you're used to, or is it the curtains, or which one's better? What keywords are people typically using to find each? And yeah, drill down into that, but we'll keep it high level for now.
Exactly, cool. So I guess if we're sorted by monthly sales here, we'll want to look at the competition now because we're pretty okay with the demand that we're seeing.
Yeah, definitely. It's like you can, real quick see like 2,000, that's like 700. Nothing's dipping all that low, so still over 300 here.
And again, that 300 is our what we want to see. We want to see 300 monthly sales for any given product.
Yeah, and then I guess like you said, if we go into competition, so we do have a couple of listings up here that are really high.
Yeah.
Then these folks here have less, 200 to 300 reviews, but they're still getting good amount of sales.
More than double what we want to see.
Yeah. So, was that kind of the bottom? Oh no, there's still more to go. Okay. This is interesting to see, like really low reviews relative to everyone else. So 11, and they're still getting almost 300 sales. They're about 50, and they're still getting nearly 400. So that's kind of promising as well. And then there are a few more examples here. Okay, these ones are getting a little bit less. So it does seem like the higher you can get up on page one, it seems like maybe more of the sales are going to maybe the top half of page one. It's not completely restricted to only the top 2 or 3 listings. But it does seem like it's weighted a little bit more heavier to the top, I don't know, 5 to 7 listings.
It looks like this guy actually just started. So this guy with 4 reviews, 120 sales, just started a few months ago. And the guy above it, so he started not too long ago as well, about 8 or 7 months ago. But he got a really low review here. So that's probably why he's not doing too hot in the sales department. So if you were to find a really good supplier, a really good product, hopefully you wouldn't have anything below 4 or 3.5 like this guy does here.
Yeah.
But one more thing I'd say to look at is the pricing. So if we go back up here, we can see our average price is about $24 here. Okay. And we can really start to see the average price of some of these products here. So the guys at the top are, this guy here is selling for $42, $23, $21, lower end of 20, mid-20s. But I saw something earlier that was interesting. So this guy here, 11 reviews, selling just around 300, give or take, sales per month. But he's priced at $20, and he just started. So most likely what he's doing is he's doing exactly what we did with our P pads, and he's having an introductory sale essentially to really spike his sales, to spike his reviews. And then over time, I'm sure he's going to get that price closer to the average or more than the average so he can focus on his profit margin. So this is interesting because we can, if we want to go to the net profit calculator, which we'll do here shortly, and look at pricing, we can maybe take $19.99 as our low point, like this guy's doing. Yeah. And sort of assume that if we have a good product and we have good marketing behind it, our listing is strong, that we can get similar results. And then we can use the average price, which again is like $24 as a middle point, and then like a higher point, maybe we go like $28, $29. So we got a good range there, and everything's over $20 for the most part. So again, we're not going to say that this has high demand, low competition, high profitability yet, but so far they pass the eye test, and I think it's worth bringing up and looking at Alibaba. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so car privacy curtains. I have a feeling that curtain word is going to be key here. So car privacy curtains.
Cool.
And again, we want to look for the curtain, not the shade. So that looks like for a room. That looks like for the windshield that we're seeing here. I actually bought something that looked like that not too long ago. That is a shade. Okay, this is hard. Okay, there's one. It's a curtain for the side door. But what do you think? Do you think we look for
Maybe
something
like car curtains or?
Yeah, because we want the bigger ones. We want the ones that could like fit on a van.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll keep scrolling and see if we find any.
See if there's anything. Okay,
Right
here we
here.
go. So what do they call that? They do call it a privacy curtain.
Partition, which is interesting. See if maybe there's some other people. So maybe I'll pull that. I'll open that one up in a new tab.
Okay.
Keep tabs on. Okay, cool. Another one here. So partition is an interesting word that I'm seeing so far on these two. And maybe we'll find one more. There's this guy down here, which is actually pretty similar to what we're looking for. This guy here. Cool. So we got 3 now, and they look like they're similar pricing. So this guy here, which looks like exactly what we would want.
Yep.
Exactly what we were looking at on Amazon. The prices range from $4.50 on the high end to $2 if you buy a lot of units. But we probably can't afford that much, so we'd want to stay between $3.90 and $3.35. So
yeah,
it's a good one. Let's see what this guy's doing. So okay, $3.28 on the high end. That's awesome. And let's see what the third guy is doing. So a lot more expensive, but that's only if you're buying 20 of them at a time. So it says
interesting.
It's saying bags here. I imagine they sell them in a different way than other suppliers do. Like they send them to you in bags, which is interesting. Or maybe that's just like a language barrier.
I wonder is that
Maybe we'll just like exclude this because it's not evident right away.
Yeah, the other ones seem a little bit more consistent, so I sort of trust those a bit more.
Let's get an average here. So $278, $328, $390. I think somewhere around this $390.
Yeah.
I would even go a little bit lower, like $350. Because on the high end here we're at $330, and the median here is like $390, or you can say $335. Well, you said we meet in the middle of like $390 and what is that, 40 and go, or 20 and go like $350 or 60 or something like that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so we'll go back to this page here. I'm sorry, we have the curtains here. We can pull up our extension and really start to see, we could really run through this again and look at all the demand, competition, and profitability for the items that now show up on the page, which is probably gonna be slightly different than what we saw earlier.
Yep.
Just because search results are very dynamic, things change all the time. But let's just go ahead and take any of these products that look similar to ours, so that we are getting accurate quotes. Let's go ahead and maybe take this guy here. Yeah, let's go ahead and take this guy here. Take his net profit. And so altogether, our total FBA fees are about $7.24. Our net would be $21 our product costs, and our product price here, we want to lower it to the average, which is like, what did I say, $22? Was that the average?
Yeah, 22, 21.
Yeah, 24 actually. Okay, so that's the average. Maybe just go $23.99, and then put our cost in here. What did we say? $3.50?
Yeah. And then
obviously we have that in shipping. So
yeah,
what do you think for shipping here on this probably very lightweight product? It wouldn't be too expensive.
Wouldn't be more than, I'd say like a couple of dollars per unit.
Maybe what, at $2?
Yeah, I think so. Do like
so
$5.50.
$5.50 there. Yeah. So at the median price here, we're making some pretty good profit. But let's assume we're just drastically wrong about all this. Let's just go up to $7.50, or for the sake of this, let's go $8.
Yeah.
Let's say we don't know what we're talking about, and we're going to reach out to these suppliers, and we're going to hit with all these fees and increased cost. At the median price, we're still at about 100% ROI. So this is cool to see. Let's keep this worst case scenario and now go to our introductory price that one guy was doing at $19.99. So if we're just starting off, we can expect a 73% percentage and net just under $6 per unit. So what do you think? I mean, this is it sounds awesome. Again, this is very high level, but I'm loving what we're seeing so far.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. So just kind of a pointer here is it's a really great idea to get different, get these different quotes. So your, like Jake described it, kind of like your worst case scenario one where you're just being more conservative and saying like, what if it actually costs more than it probably will?
Yeah.
And also, what if we have to lower our price, which you typically would when you're launching a product, and you kind of see this worst case scenario. But then also kind of put in what is sort of the most realistic or kind of like the ideal scenario as well, which would be the previous, like, okay, we ideally want to sell this at $24, and then when you get a specific quote, you can kind of like put that in here. The other note on that, let's just use this one as an example, is that you could say price, let's say that, you know, these were the actual prices. When you first start out, you might be paying this price because you're starting with a limited budget and you're just kind of getting started. You can certainly do profitability using, say, 440, so you can see what your profitability would be like immediately. But I would say don't worry if it's not great, because you know that, you know, in the future, I'm gonna be ordering at least this amount here, and this is actually the price that I should get in the future. So even if you can't get that price immediately, you can, you know, figure out this is what it's going to be, you know, long term, even if I can't get that immediately. So that's just like one other point to kind of make there. But yeah, going back to wherever it was, I think initially the profitability seems pretty great. So I think it kind of ticks that box as well.
All right, well, I noticed we just came in at the nick of time there, so good timing. And I'll go ahead and add these to our product tracker, and you guys go ahead and drop your questions below, either in the chat or again, if you're not watching live, in the comments of this video. And also guys, if you're enjoying this video, let us know by hitting that like button down below. We'd really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see, what questions do we have here? Let's see, I'm trying to understand this one. Is there any permission needed to take for FBA using other person's product name? I wouldn't recommend taking a brand, if someone's got a branded name, I don't know, like a Yeti mug or something, it's like, you definitely you can't take someone's brand name. If they've called their mug something else, like a branded term, I wouldn't use that term. You can't do anything that would be, you know, really associated with someone else's brand. But in that example, if someone else is selling a mug, you can also sell a mug. So you can call it what the product is, you just can't take their brand name, or if they've created their own name, you can't take that. I think maybe that's what you're asking. So yeah, that's kind of my answer there. Then, let's see. Why are some markets have only one good selling product and the other products are priced incredibly high compared to the original value cost of the price, and some are no stock and low BSR? I'm not quite sure what you're asking here. If I can take it one part at a time, why do some just have one good selling product? I mean, there are lots of different reasons. What you might find is that sometimes if there's like one listing that's doing really well, no one else is, that is a red flag. That is one of the things that we're kind of like trying to allude to here, is that you don't want to see that one or two listings is dominating the majority of the sales. You want to see that these other listings are still getting sales as well. If you're seeing that one is dominating, it might be because they're Yeti and like people they've got a brand affinity there. They want that specific brand. That could be a reason, or maybe all of the other listings are quite poor in quality. I guess there are like a number of different reasons, but ultimately I would avoid those markets. I can't explain why that happens sometimes, but I would avoid those. Then, is Jungle Scout going to be available for Amazon Saudi Arabia or the Middle East? I don't know any timelines. Overall, we are trying to expand to as many Amazon marketplaces as possible, but unfortunately I don't have any inside information in terms of like when that will happen. The question here, how much higher than the bid price would you say to go? I'm going to assume that you're talking about PPC campaigns here, or I'm just going to assume like sponsored product ads. I guess it sort of depends. You know, the suggested bid, I guess, is like a good starting point. If you want to be a little bit more aggressive, you know, one thing could be to just set all of your keywords to the suggested bid, and then you can adjust the entire ad set or campaign as a whole, and you could adjust it by a dollar amount or a percentage amount. I think what we've done in the past is like, initially set it to the suggested bids, and then maybe said like, okay, increase everything by maybe 25% or something like that. So I guess what you've got like your suggested bid, you've also got kind of like a bid range often. You could go maybe on the higher end of the bid range if you're trying to be more aggressive and you want to make sure that you're winning those bids. Am I saying anything out of turn or anything you would?
No, you really covered it there. I'd say another thing that you can consider is outside of the bids is your placements as well. So you can show up at the top of search. You can show up in product pages, like underneath, usually in these sections, like underneath the frequently bought with section. Or you can show up on the rest of the search, which is somewhere else scattered across the search results. So in your campaigns, you can go to placements. It's a tab underneath ad groups or somewhere in there, and you can adjust your top of search, which is historically the best placement, but sometimes you'll find you do a lot better on product pages. So I would test those out as well, starting maybe like Lenny said at the suggested price, but adding increases for top of search and product pages as well to help you win those really valuable placements there. So I would experiment with placements as well, but like you said, start suggested, or if you're really, really bullish and you really want to invest in advertising, go as high as you want just to win the bid and adjust from there.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to like how much do you want to win that bid.
Yeah.
I think these are good recommendations just in general for keywords. Sometimes you might find, like I think we did with washable pee pads, there were certain keywords that were the big ones, like washable pee pads for dogs, where I think we even separated that into its own campaign.
Yes.
And in that instance, we just wanted to kind of like win that keyword no matter what. So I think we almost just kind of went maybe even above and beyond like what the suggested range was. And we did that very intentionally just because we wanted to win no matter what. But that's, I guess, more of a unique situation.
I'm pretty sure if our average ACoS was, I'm just an example here, like 40%, I'm pretty sure that ACoS was like 90 or 100%. And we were okay with that because it was bringing in a ton of traffic. We had it separated, like Lane said, into their own campaign so we can control the spend. We weren't spending $1,000 a day on it, but we did spend quite a bit. But our other campaigns that had better ACoSs, more profitable campaigns, they really helped us really achieve our average ACoS. So like Lenny said, you could separate your biggest keywords into separate campaigns and target those separately.
Cool. Okay, so please talk about patents. Like if I choose a product, how do I know if my product is patented in Amazon? All right, so I can't give professional advice, but the best thing to do if you're worried about patents is to get professional advice to check whether there are any patents on a product. At the end of the day, that is the best solution. However, there are a couple of quick, scrappy things that you can do just to get some initial checks. So some easy things to do would just be to type in the product name on Google and just add the word patent. So you could just type in water bottle patent, and then that might bring back some results. There's also a website, Google Patents. That's a good one to use. And again, you would just type in, say, water bottle, and it would kind of bring back the patents related to that. You can sometimes see the patent on Amazon itself. Sometimes a product will kind of like list it in their bullet points or in their description, or they'll actually mention that there is a patent on the technology or on, design or utility patent. It'll sometimes say on Amazon. You'll other times see it on on a product itself. So you might, I don't know if this one does, but like it might be on the product itself or on the packaging of a product. You'll it can often be displayed there. So yeah, those are some like basic quick checks that you can do. I wouldn't say you can rely on that 100%, but that's just an initial thing to do. Because, if you see immediately that there's a patent, then you don't have to spend any money to get someone else to tell you that, but that would be the safest way to go.
Awesome. There's a question here that actually 2 people have asked. So I'll bring up Cheryl's question here, but Ira's also asked a similar question. The question is, if I put 2 products in a single box made by the same manufacturer as a set, do I put the label on it saying it's a set? So you can, absolutely. But you don't need to. Think of it like if we're in the automotive space right now looking at products. If you sell a car detailing set, right, where it comes with some soap, some mitts, some scrubbers, all these tools that you can use to clean your car, you really want to show that off in your main image. And then on the packaging itself, I wouldn't worry too much about that as long as you're really clear with what's included. So you don't need to label anything out of the ordinary. Just say what your products include and make sure it's very, very clear. And I really show that off in your main image.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything here you have to do.
Yeah.
But I personally, or generally, I think you would want to use the word set because that's probably going to help you sell your product more if it's I don't know, whatever. Because you want people to be clear that no, you're not just getting one item, you're getting a set. There's multiple things here. There's more value. So the word set, I think, will generally imply more value, more things. So I think from a marketing perspective, you want to use it, but it's not like something that you have to do.
Yeah.
You just need to accurately describe what your product is, ultimately.
Yeah, and bundling is a great idea. I mean, that's a great way to separate yourself from your competitors. And surely you're not gonna probably be the only person that's doing that. But it is a great way to, one, separate yourself from competitors, and two, charge a higher price so that hopefully your margins are better as well because you're charging more. People pay for convenience, especially on Amazon. They just want to get a set of things. So if, like Iris asked the question, should I sell products as a set like baby towels and a baby washcloth? Absolutely. However, if you do find that baby towels do well, that's okay just to sell that. But bringing it in as a set, if there's data there that can back up your decision, I think that's a great idea. It's a great way to separate yourself and hopefully earn more profit.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. What are the general recommendations on selling clothes using private label? It's not something that I have heaps of experience in, so I don't have any real specific tips to clothing in general. I typically would, for beginners anyway, recommend maybe staying away from it. Clothing, people tend to be a little more brand loyal, like they're looking for they want to wear a particular brand, so it can be harder for a private label seller to come in with clothing. The other thing that I don't like about clothing as a beginner is that you kind of have to have multiple variations and sizes. So, even if it's just like small, medium, large, it's like you kind of need to send in lots of inventory for all of those. And you might have to send in, let's say, 500 units or 1,000 units of each, but like maybe the large ones are only the ones that are selling, but you still need to have that other inventory there. So it's just trickier to manage the inventory for, and there's just, you're now managing multiple variations. I feel like it's just a little bit trickier overall. Although on the other side of things, Amazon has like a print on demand service, I believe, with clothing that you could use.
Yeah.
So it only gets created, like Amazon will take a cut, of course, but it only gets created when someone places an order. So that might be a more cost-effective way to get started if you're really, into selling clothing. But yeah, I think outside of that, I don't really have any other specific tips.
Cool. Let's get to this question here. Ultimate Coupon Lady, first off, thanks for joining us. You were here at the beginning of the video and you're still here, so thank you. She's asking, do you have any up-to-date shipping videos for 2022? She's ready to choose a supplier. So we do. Yeah, we actually have a tool, and let me actually dive into my screen real quick here and show you something. So we have a few videos on our channels about this, but inside Jungle Scout, we have a whole section for finding suppliers and tracking suppliers. So if you go to supplier database here, you can search for suppliers by product. So let's say we're looking for a car pump, we can type that in here. Or maybe a company that sells this product. You can type that in here and hopefully find their supplier. This won't be the case for every single product and company, but hopefully you can find one. Or you can search for a supplier here that you're maybe researching on Alibaba to see a lot of their information, or you can take an ASIN. So like we could take one of these products here, add the ASIN, and again, it doesn't always work because not everybody's supplier's information is public, but you could find it, and if it would show up, it would be in this section here. So once you have a few suppliers that you're looking at, you can add it to your tracker here. And then you can really just keep track of all your suppliers, but definitely go to our YouTube channel and type in supplier database or tracker. One of those videos, we have a full tutorial on this tool for you. There's a ton of resources out there. We have our how to sell on Amazon video that has a full dedicated section to it. So yes, type in Jungle Scout supplier database. You should find our tutorial there, and hopefully some good information's in there for you to learn about. Great question.
Awesome. Okay.
All right, what do you say we maybe look at like our full list now and maybe like see what we did today and look at our 3 products we added and also compare them to the 3 products we added in the last episode. So yeah, let's dive into our product tracker here and see what we added today. All right. So we added all of our our groups up here at the top. We can, go to it and expand this group overview to see our main metrics here at a snapshot. But again, we just added these, so a lot of the information isn't available. There are some that is pre-populated here, but these ones at the bottom will just take a few hours or a day to fully populate. But we can go through this list here one by one and look at these main metrics like average daily sales, the average price, the fees, the average net, excluding of course your product cost and shipping cost. The average review count for competition, and there's also some like fun things in here that I like to look at when I do product research. Average listing quality score, so LQS here. This is on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being great, 1 being not so great. So if there's a high score, so let's say about 10, that means that listing quality is awesome. They have all their images, they have a video potentially, they're using a bunch of keywords in their title, bullet points, description. Maybe they even have A+ content as well. So this is a good estimate to see, like, are your competitors, do they have very strong listings? As well, you can go over to the average ranking or rating over here and see, what the average rating is across the niches, this niche here. So 4.4 is pretty strong, but maybe we find on, let's say the cup holder expander, 4.2, and what's the average listing score? So about 7 there as well. If we go to our privacy curtains that we just added, the listing quality score is about 6, so a little bit less. And the average rating is at 4. So we sort of see, a few things here. If we were to sell this product and we know how to optimize our listing, and again, we have a lot of videos on our channel that can teach you this, but you can potentially compete with these sellers by just having a better listing. So if we come back over here to our overview tab, what do you say, Lenny? Let's maybe look through these products.
Yeah.
The 3 we just added are down at the bottom, and the 3 we added last episode are up at the top. So again, we don't have all the data in here yet, and really the next episode will be better for us to come in here and compare. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you like the video, and come back and join us for each episode we do. At high level, what are you seeing so far?
Are we so we maybe looking at all of them together now?
Yeah, why not? I think we have a lot more data for these top 3 ones, so that would be more accurate. But we can still, at a high level, examine these 3 with the data that's pre-populated in there.
Yeah, so if we just kind of like look at the top metrics, the things that we said that we're looking at. So we're looking at, let's look at demand. Okay. So again, we want 300 sales per month or at least 10 per day.
Yes.
Basically, it looks like everything is kind of like ticking that box.
Yes.
2 of the products from last time are a little bit lower. But Car Pump is the clear winner, although really any of these are pretty good.
Yeah.
I'd probably eliminate these 2 as they're the lowest.
Yes.
If we then move on to competition, the Car Pump has by far the highest sales, but it also has the highest competition. So
by a wide margin.
Yeah, so sometimes it's like you might want to go for the product that just has the biggest demand, or you might want to find the biggest sort of difference, like the one that's got the best mix of the 2.
Yeah. What are you seeing? I think that car privacy shield looks interesting. It's got 39 daily sales, which again, we're looking for 10. Amount. Yeah, we're looking for 10. That's almost 4 times it.
Yeah, which is, that's fairly comparable to the top one here, Yarn for baby blankets. However, it's, a third of the number of average reviews. So yeah, this one feels like a good sort of in-between option.
Yeah. The average price is on the low end here, but above our $20 minimum. So $23 here compared to, I guess there's 22 there, but the rest seem to be a little bit higher, excluding this top guy here. So that's good as well. I know we got a lot more information to bring in, like contacting our supplier to get quotes. But if I remember correctly, I think this car privacy one had, one of the lowest unit cost since it's so cheap. It's such a small, lightweight product. Even the shipping on it would be cheaper than I think any product here outside of potentially the yarn. In fact, we can see our average fees here. So that typically is you're going to pay more in fees if your product's heavier or bigger. We can see all these products here are standard size, large standard, large standard, large standard, which is great. The average weight here as well is really helpful to get a snapshot of the fees you're going to pay on Amazon. So this is interesting.
So I guess in terms of the second box for competition, I'd probably give it to the car privacy curtains. You could also put bead spinners up there as well, because that one truly has the lowest average reviews. Although, I like the demand better on the privacy curtain. So if I had to choose, I would probably choose this one still, even though it is a bit higher, but it does have more demand. And then the third thing, which you would, I think kind of talking to there, was profitability. And of course, we don't have those numbers off the top of our head, but looking at sort of the average net here is kind of a good starting place. So what that means is it takes the average price and you take away Amazon's fees, which is a big chunk of the costs, and then you're left with the net amount. Now, from here, you would need to then take away your products, manufacturing and shipping costs, which is what we've been walking through today, and whatever is left is then your profit margin. So, it's hard to tell offhand, but we're wanting kind of a higher amount here, but like you said, the car privacy curtains probably has one of the lowest, unit costs. So if you take away, a few dollars from here, you're probably going to be, what is it going to be, like $9, $10 quite likely in profit per unit, which is pretty good. But I could certainly see really most of these. Maybe I'd almost exclude the yarn for baby blankets. But everything else is pretty good. So I could see these all maybe working potentially for profitability. So, if we come down to it, we sort of have the car pump as the winner for demand, although I'd probably add these two here as close finalists. And then for competition, it was really just the car privacy curtains. And then for profitability, like we were saying, I think really any of these could work here. So if we were to kind of just pick one just based off of these rough rules of thumb, I'd probably go with maybe something like the car privacy curtains.
I'm in the same camp, I agree.
Although I do actually really like more or less all three that we found today, but...
Yeah, I would think about some of the other stuff too. And again, we're not at this stage yet, so we wouldn't dive too deep into this. We can, at a very high level, say, like we mentioned earlier, the car pump would have so many potential issues with it because it's it's electronic. So that's going to be an issue. It actually has the highest average weight here, or second highest outside of the pregnancy casting kit. So that's going to be an issue, I think. So I wouldn't rule it out, but just very high level, if we're just trying to find one to maybe dig into deeper, I would prioritize, like you said, the car privacy curtains would be my favorite. Second would be the cup holder expander. There seemed to be a lot of opportunity there, but a lot of competition as well. And not just the reviews here, but just remembering back to what we looked at, there were so many different products. Seems like everybody was selling this item. With the car privacy curtains, at least there were two different types of products. There was like the shade, and then there's a curtain, but then there was like the curtain, you can split that out even more. The curtain around the whole van or car, or the curtain on the individual window. So you can really niche down even more from there, and I like that for that reason. The bead spinners I think is actually interesting too. It probably has the best ratio, or one of the best ratios of demand at 11 daily sales to reviews at 200 average reviews. Really the bead spinner and the car privacy curtains to me are like my favorite ratio there. But again, like actually the profitability as well, $16 at bead spinner, $16 for the car privacy curtain. So I like that as well, looking at the last episode we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those, really the bead spinner, card privacy holder, and the cup holder would be my 3 favorite, but I would still not knock any of these out until we find more information about it.
Yeah, I'd maybe be slightly different. I would probably replace the bead spinner with the car pump.
Okay.
And there's obviously an asterisk there, questions that we need to answer.
Yes.
But for me, I agree that the bead spinner has like the best ratio of like sales to competition.
Yes.
However, I feel like there are always ways that you can outsmart and beat the competition and market your product, but you can't invent or create demand.
Good point.
And so I would opt to maybe go with a product that's slightly more competitive, if there's like more demand. Like I would almost lean a little bit heavier into what's got more demand. And I love that, the car pump, for instance, has an insane amount of demand.
Yeah.
Yes, it does have high competition. Yes, I'd want to answer more questions about, do we think we could actually compete with that? But that's just my initial feeling there. So yeah.
I love that idea. Good point. You can't create demand. You can always compete with the competition. Awesome.
Awesome. All right, well, those are our 3 products for today. We've now got a list of 6. In our next episode, we're going to research some more products and kind of add them to this list. And I think it'll be really fun to be building out this short list because this is exactly the advice that we have for all you out there watching, is to kind of create this short list and do it very high level like we've been doing. Then when you've got that list, then you can start to like narrow it down by getting more specific quotes and information.
Awesome.
All right, so to wrap things up today, we'll answer a couple more questions real quick before we finish today. So a couple of questions that I saw here. Could you tell something about sales tax for Amazon FBA sellers in the US? How does it work? Do I need a permit for each state where your product is sold? So again, this isn't professional advice, but one thing I can say is that it's a lot easier today than it used to be.
Yeah.
Amazon collects sales tax for, I believe, most states. So you basically don't need to really worry about it all too much from my understanding, as Amazon takes care of that for you. Question here from Cartoon World about online arbitrage. If I source a product from Walmart or eBay to my Amazon customers, as you know, there'll be a packaging of Walmart. Will it be okay or not? I don't have a lot of experience from online arbitrage, but what I do understand, or from what I understand, Amazon doesn't really like Amazon products rocking up in packaging from other, other retailers. So I would try to avoid that if possible. I don't know if you've got the option of like repackaging that or like taking off the Amazon box, or if you find something online that's really good and you're able to maybe buy a whole bunch of them, I would maybe, you could consider sending them all in via FBA just outside of, taking off the Walmart packaging. But yeah, I don't have heaps of experience with online arbitrage, but I would try to avoid that situation.
Definitely. You would want to get rid of that packaging. That is a huge deal for Amazon.
Right.
They would strike you down if someone, takes a picture and sends it into Amazon. They would probably deactivate your account really quickly, or at least give you a strike. So if you can bring it to your house, repackage it, send it into Amazon, or if you're fulfilling it yourself, then you're getting the product anyway. So just go buy some. If you're doing this full time, if you're serious, go buy some some boxes in bulk, so you save on that price. But you would definitely want to package it and remove all the where you sourced it from.
All right. So question here from Ahmad. What about shipping? Do you prefer sea and air? And what is your opinion? So keeping it really simple, generally speaking, air is going to be quicker, but more expensive. Sea shipping is going to be a lot cheaper, but it's going to be a lot longer as well. So ultimately, that's the decision you have to make. Longer term, I would say, actually no, when you're starting out, you might want to consider air shipping if you just want to get your product to market quicker.
Yeah.
If you've got a very heavy product, however, then it just may not be cost effective to ever use air shipping. But I've used air shipping a lot, mostly towards the beginning of launching a product, just because I want to get it there. I'm okay with spending more money just because I want to get to market as quickly as possible and start selling.
Yeah.
If you do choose to ever do that, I would recommend long-term shifting to C shipping and shifting to that as soon as you possibly can, because it's going to be a lot cheaper. You just need to be in a situation where you've got enough time up your sleeve that like, okay, I can afford to wait, 50, 60 days or however long it is to get my inventory in. You'll save a lot of money doing that. So ideally try to work towards C shipping if you can, if you're not already from the start. So that's probably what I would say there.
And then actually Brian brings up a great point here. He mentions if you're small and lightweight your product, then air, it would be pretty reasonable. It does matter how big your product is and how heavy it is.
Yeah.
So great point, Brian. Thanks for chiming in here. That's a good.
Yeah, actually that's a good point. Like typically I would normally get both quotes because depending on your product, just to that point there, there mightn't be a huge cost difference maybe between air and shipping, or at least it's like, oh, it might cost a little bit more, but significantly faster, and you can kind of weigh up which one is better for you.
Yeah. Awesome. Scott asked a question here. Scott asks, how could a product be selling 100 a month but only have 14 reviews? So this is very common, especially early on. You could be selling a ton of units and people just aren't leaving reviews. So when you're launching a product, that's one case scenario. However, some products and some categories, people just don't leave reviews for. Your review rate. So this is, on Amazon, it's typically, I think it's like 3 to 4% is the average review rate, meaning like out of every 100 sales, only 2 to 4 people leave a review. So if you're selling 100 a month and you have an average review rate, you're only getting a few reviews. So it's not too far off to think that you could be selling 200 units a month and not getting that much reviews. It really depends on your product, your strategies for getting reviews. If you're using product inserts, you're using a tool like Review Automation to automatically send review requests to your customers, really reminding them that, hey, leave a review if you can. So that is something that I would consider is the average review rate is very, very low, and this varies depending on your category and your product.
Well said. So Mohammed asks, if the top 10 listing has less than 400 reviews and the sales are 100 to 200 products in a month and the average product price is $19, should we go for that product? So we're just making we're talking purely about the numbers that you've given. So what I would say here is that if the top 10 listings have less than 400 reviews, in today's market, that's like reasonably good. It'd obviously be nice to have a few of those at least that are less, but if nothing in the top 10 is over 400, I would say that's like pretty good and can be pretty hard to find. What I would say immediately is 1 to 200 sales per month is a little bit lower than what we would like. Again, we would like at least 300, but 1 to 200 is still okay. The average product price is $19, which is pretty close to what we suggest of aiming for at least $20. I think it's possible to sell this product. I would say maybe keep looking. Because again, it's a little bit low on on the demand side, and it's very borderline as far as the product price as well. The thing that's missing here is like how profitable is it? If you've got a good profit dollar or a good profit margin or ROI, then it might be great to sell this product.
Definitely.
So that's kind of like the thing that I think is missing here. So I think it could be okay. But I would still try to find more product ideas to see if there's something else that can improve some of these numbers.
Awesome. Bring up a question here. It's hey, what's a rough amount to start FBA? Let me know the range. Can I start with your series without buying an FBA course? Of course, that's what our YouTube channel is here for. We offer complete free advice here. That's why we're doing this video now, especially to engage with you guys. Everything is free on our YouTube channel. Go watch our How to Sell on Amazon video or really any video that we upload. We're trying our best to give you guys free content. But to answer your question, this really depends for the type of product that you're looking to sell. So If your product price is extremely expensive, like over $50, for example, then you're probably going to be able to only start with a little bit because you're not going to be able to buy a ton of units. But we can actually speak from experience here. We launched a product last year, and I really encourage you to watch that video. It's actually our last upload. We actually detail everything in the past year, all of our cost, revenue, profits, what we paid, what we started with, our total startup cost. If I remember correctly, it was around $8,000.
Yep.
Now, that wasn't just like all cash we just threw out at one time. That was over time, about like a few months of doing product research, or I'm sorry, doing product photography, doing things like getting our barcodes, and then we really focused on quality, so we did spend a little bit more than what someone might typically spend. You don't need to spend $8,000 like we did.
No, our product was a little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
So it was, the landed cost was $10
Yes.
something, a bit over $10. To compare it to previous products that we've sold at Jungle Scout, we've sold products that I think are like around about like $5 to $7 as well.
Okay.
So this product in particular was a little bit higher than, you know, you can certainly find products that are cheaper, and so it wouldn't necessarily be, you know, $8,000 if you found something a bit cheaper.
Yeah,
which is very doable.
Definitely, and that's again like all of our costs. Like that was our first 2 rounds of inventory. You could order less inventory. You don't need to start with $8,000. You can probably start on Amazon with $5,000. You're just gonna grow not as fast as you can if you were to have, you know, more cash available. I think that's an obvious given. Yeah,
I'd say like 5,000 is probably like a good sort of starting point.
Just look for a product that you can source very low. Like we were talking about with our, if you're watching earlier, our car privacy shields, those were like $3, just the product cost. And then shipping was maybe $4 or $5 at most. And so that gives you a little bit under $10 per unit cost. If you're limited on funds, try your best to find a product that you can source extremely, extremely low, but you can still sell anywhere around $19, $20 or above. So that per unit product price will be key.
Definitely. All right, so just following up with Ventura before regarding sales tax, do I have to do anything, or does Amazon take care of it? So Amazon will take care of it, so you don't have to do anything, just to clarify there.
Common question.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see here. All right, so there, you got a question up? No, perfect.
How many reviews are needed at the beginning to generate more sales? Thank you guys, you are the best team. Well, thank you for that. And how many reviews are needed at the beginning to generate more sales? There's no magic number, just more reviews. You just want more and more and more reviews. You want as many as you can. You know, I find it's kind of helpful to sort of set targets. It's like, okay, my first goal is to get to like 5 reviews. Then I want to get to 2 digits and get to 10. And then once I've gotten to 10, I'm like, okay, now I want to get to 25. These are just sort of like arbitrary numbers, but you definitely do see just with your organic sales that, you know, the more, even just getting 1 review is a huge jump from 0. Which makes sense. It's like if you're, you know, people are just gonna be less likely to buy something that has no reviews. If it has 1 review and you've got a little bit of information to go off, it's like people will be a little bit more likely. And then just the higher that number creeps, the more kind of social proof that your product has and the more confidence people will have. So there's no magic number, but you just wanna get as many as you can. So those are kind of the tiers that I look at as to get my first 5, 10, 25, 50, and then at that point when you really got things rolling, you know, you really start looking forward to getting into triple digits and getting over 100. And I think maybe once you've gotten over 100, you can, I guess you never want to slow down, but it certainly gets, well, I don't know, I suppose what I would say is that in the early stages, you really need quality reviews, because the worst thing that can happen is to get like a 1-star review as one of your first reviews, because that kills your average rating. And it's like one of the only things that people can read about your product. So that can be a really big challenge. However, once you've got, you know, at least, you know, let's say 50 reviews, at that point, if you get a 1-star review, it still sucks, but it's averaged out. It's not gonna hurt your average star rating as much. It's not gonna pull it all the way down. And, you know, hopefully there's like there's less visibility on that 1-star review as well because you've got so many other ones there. So at the start, it is quite important to get quality reviews, and the more reviews you can get, it sort of like helps sort of buffer or protect you a little bit when you do probably inevitably get negative reviews. So
good point. And then if you want more content on that, we actually had a video detailing our strategy to getting 500 reviews in our first year. So we really did a lot of things like lowering our price, having coupons. We actually lost some money, but we did that in order to get reviews. So again, we got 500 reviews in our first year. If you want to see our strategy behind that, go ahead and watch one of our latest videos. You'll see it right in the thumbnail and the title. A lot of good details in there for you.
All right, we'll take a couple more questions before we wrap things up today. Are there any that you can? Yeah,
this is a good question, really a relevant one. So how to handle refunds. So this is huge, and I'm actually finding, and speaking with a lot of other sellers as well, that people are refunding more than ever this year and last year as well. So I think that's a sign of the economy, unfortunately. And I think there's just people who are always going to return things. That's what Amazon created. They created this monster. You can return things, especially within 30 days, with a click of a button, and you'll get your refund within two minutes. So Amazon, unfortunately, does have more returns associated with them than any other marketplace. There's people out there who even split test this. Like my refund rate is like 1% on my Shopify website and like 10% or maybe like 5% on Amazon. So that's just the beast that Amazon created. There's nothing you can do about it. The only thing that I would say and suggest is make sure you're marketing your product accurately. So in your main image especially, in your title, and the rest of your images and all throughout your listing, don't say anything that would confuse the buyer. So take, for example, a plate, or let's say a plate. There's a lot of different sizes of plates out there. If your plate shows a steak on it, but the plate's that big, that's gonna throw a lot of people off. So when they order it and they're really looking to put steak on that plate, they're not gonna be happy and they're probably gonna return it. So you need to make sure what you're describing in your images especially and in your listing is accurate so you don't confuse the buyer and then obviously initiate a return. So just work on your marketing, but after that, there's really nothing else you can do.
Yeah, I love that point, and it's interesting that Amazon has such a high refund rate compared to other marketplaces, but I would look at what is the upside that you're getting, because it's like, okay, it might have a higher refund rate than other marketplaces, but look at what you're getting. It's like you're on this platform where people are ready to buy, they've got their credit cards attached, there's just so much traffic there, and it's like, whilst it might be a higher number of returns, it's like you're getting so much exposure, probably 10x or more what you would get on any other platform. So you're getting way more upside than you are downside for selling on Amazon.
Yeah.
And I think those are some really great tips, and I think it's like a great place to wrap things up today. So thank you all for watching. We really hope that you've gained some value from just kind of like hearing us and watching us look at products and you know, talk through the things that we would be considering. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give us a thumbs up down below. That lets us know to keep doing these. And then if you've got any further follow-up questions, wait till this video's ended and then drop them in the comments section below, and we'll come back and answer anything that we've missed today. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next webinar. Take care.
Bye.